What's up, guys? Before we get back into today's episode, I just want to let you know where you can find the Spin the Rock podcast. We're on YouTube for video format, so make sure you like and subscribe over there. We're on all podcast platforms, so make sure you leave us that good old 5 stars and leave a review. You can find us on TikTok and Twitter at Spin the Rock, as well as Instagram for any clips, episode updates, and much more. Thank you for listening. All the links will be in the description. Hello, and welcome to the Spin the Rock podcast. I am your host, Angel, and with me today is
Eugene?
And Vaughn.
all right. It's September. Just one more month until basketball or NBA basketball, at least. So, like usual, dead as hell. Nothing going on really, but we do have some minor news and maybe for some of us major news. Let's start off with actual NBA talk first, which is Adam Silver is teaming up with I think specifically UFC to try to crack down on these streaming sites that I'm pretty sure we all know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna say if I use them or not, but what do y'all think about that?
I understand why. And it doesn't necessarily take away from viewership, at least the viewership numbers. But for the poor people out there, won't dox myself if I'm rich or poor either, but yeah, it'll be a little bit of a struggle to find these games, or we're gonna have to spend money one way or another, whether it's buying the actual subscription or going to a sports bar or something of that nature to watch these games by ourselves anyway. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't think it'll happen, but maybe they got a different type of motion.
Yeah, there's millions left on the table probably because of that. I don't remember the specific number, but I know it's a pretty large sum. But also, this could just be a scare tactic for those who indulge in that stuff. But if they do or they don't, I think either way, people are gonna find a way to pirate those games. No
Could be
matter
some
what.
loophole.
They could change their VPN to another country, to a different panel, something like huge galaxy brain mode. But it kind of sucks for those who have that's the way they consume NBA. But it could just be like a scare tactic. So who knows?
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like they're not making it, like they say they lose millions of dollars or almost hundreds, but it's not like you get rid of those sites and then okay, I guess I'll buy an NBA TV. No, they're just gonna go find something else. They'll just find another way to illegally watch your games. It's also they're not helping themselves out. They had 2 free to watch days, and in all of the 82 games, only 2 days were you able to watch for free. The the pass is almost $200, and if you want to watch your home team, you can't because blackout restrictions.
Right.
So it's
which is even more dumb because it's that's the whole reason you buy the NBA pass, whatever. But
yeah, I'm not trying to buy the NBA pass so I cannot watch the Nuggets,
right.
But I just feel like if it wouldn't be that big of a deal if it wasn't for the fact that what they're trying to do is make you buy their streaming service, and it's I'm sorry, but the last thing I'll do is buy the streaming service. I would buy actual cable before I buy NBA TV. It's just not worth it at all.
Yeah, maybe if they fixed up their app a little more, because it just depends on what device you're running. It'll stutter sometimes or drop in quality just on a dime. So
that's true, and
that's
just the whole UI on it too, I feel is a little confusing. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see though. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but just going back to your point of there's only 2 free games in a season. There's 30 teams that play 82 games a year. Like, you can afford to like give out a little more freebies, I think.
Yeah, MLB TV, like they have of Apple TV Friday. So if you have Apple TV, you can watch a game every Friday. And on the actual app, like if it's not like a big game, 9 times out of 10, you can watch at least one game a day for free. And like, why isn't the NBA doing that? We have 82 games in this season. We're not like the NFL where there's 16 games a season. And then like, like you can afford to give away like half of the games that you like show on TV, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what actually happens because it's not just the NBA. If you're an NFL fan and a UFC fan, you're in some trouble as well. So, moving on. Talk about FIBA, which is about to go into actual knockout stage. We don't really have to talk about that, but I do want to talk about some of the performances. I don't know if you guys been watching. I've only been watching because I work at a breakfast place, so I'm up at the time the games are playing. But has anything stuck out to you guys at all, or have you kind of just been sleeping on it?
I just know that Anthony Edwards is him. Like, even in the loss to Lithuania, he had a 35-point game, which
Yeah.
in FIFA terms is crazy. So he's starting for a reason. He was talking to Steve Kerr for a reason. He should not be coming off the bench.
Oh, facts.
Yeah, I've just seen like all the Laker pages I've been following. Austin Reeves go crazy. I've seen some Luka highlights. I've seen him go kind of crazy. Rudy and them are no longer
insane. Insane.
And this morning too, I saw Dennis Schroeder get in a fight with his coach. So things are just a little all over the place right now for the world, but
yeah. Well, it's crazy because Germany's undefeated, and Lithuania is undefeated because they beat USA. So, and they're in the same group. Yeah, Rudy and them. Evan Fournier was saying that this could revive his NBA career, and Rudy just had to be like, "Not on my watch." Let's see. Jordan Clarkson, I can't get over this. 20 points, and I double checked. It's not even 4 minutes. It's less than 4 minutes.
That's crazy.
Like,
he was hoisting threes.
Like, that's so insane to me, especially when you like. Let's be honest. He's playing for Philippines. That man is, is carrying right now. I don't know how they're doing exactly, but I just know that. Yeah, he's going crazy right now.
Also, Canada, not what I thought they'd be. Kind of a letdown in some regard. I think they lost to, is it Brazil? I know it was Bruno Caboclo, of all people, like killed them by himself.
I haven't heard that name in so long.
Yeah, it's a weird tournament because they also I think today just demolished Spain, just straight like Dylan Brooks out of nowhere was like, all right, let me actually like play basketball, and also like just went off. So yeah, it's a weird tournament. It's such because like I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know Lithuania had hoopers like that. Like, like I knew they loved basketball, but bro, the way they shot threes against USA was insane.
Hey, why you think Kristaps was the way he was, bro?
No facts. But yeah, we're in quarterfinals, I think, next, and it's Italy versus USA, Germany versus I don't even know that flag. Latvia?
It's like
Yeah, I think so.
Latvia is 2 red, top and bottom, and then white, yeah.
Lithuania against Serbia, Canada against another flag I don't recognize.
What's that one look like?
I think it's Puerto Rico or no, it's not Puerto Rico. It's like
The Bahamas, maybe.
white, blue, red, and then like a crown,
A crown. Where's the crown?
like in the top corner.
What's the colors? Or like what's the color
Oh, it's
colors on
Luca's
the
team.
flag?
It's Luca's team.
Oh,
That's why I don't recognize it.
Slovenia?
Slovenia, yeah.
Okay.
So if Canada and Slovenia in the quarterfinals, that's gonna go crazy. And then
On paper Canada should win, but
I don't know.
we'll see.
Luca has been going crazy this
No,
FIBA.
No, I know. Don't get me wrong, but there's just a lot better players on Canada. You know what I'm saying? Like on
Yeah.
paper, Canada should win, but Luka very well could lead them to a win.
Yeah. No,
I'm not knocking his game.
No, that's facts. I do hope we see USA in the finals against either Canada or Slovenia. Maybe a Lithuania rematch in the finals.
redeem themselves.
Yeah. But that's basically all we have about FIBA. I don't know if do you have anything to add? I just remember one thing though is that Austin Reeves is beloved in the Philippines right now. It's so funny to me the way they be chanting Austin, and it's like that's what playing for the Lakers happens, bro. You just become a global superstar.
It's either in China or somewhere else.
Yeah. All right, but moving on to our hot seat, which does tie in today's episode, which is what is better to you, a team rivalry or just a players having rivalry? So would you rather see two teams who hate each other, or do you like that Pat Bev Chris Paul type of rivalry? I don't know who wants to answer the hot seat first, but
I would probably say a team rivalry. Player rivalries are cool, but they don't last long. You know what I'm saying? But team rivalries go back years and years and years. And especially, I guess in me and Vaughn's case, Lakers Celtics, that's one of the most storied in all of sports. But I guess even with like the smaller rivalries, I'm gonna put a parentheses around that. I don't like the ones that the NBA has been trying to do, like the Warriors and Grizzlies. But even like I can't even think of one off the top of my head. But just like the lesser known rivalries are always still fun to watch. Yeah, I feel like personally, if the player rivalries were to extend a little longer than like 2 weeks,
yeah.
then they would probably be more interesting.
Yeah, as much as I like to say player rivalries, some player rivalries get joked on a bit more than like an actual team rivalry where it has like actually deep roots in the team's history, like Lakers and Celtics. Like that was for multiple years over a given time. You got the Kevin McHale clotheslining Kurt Rambis, and then the obvious Bird and Magic rivalry kind of just extends out to those teams. So yeah, I gotta agree with the teams. It just feels like these days, like a player rivalry will get memed more than it taken seriously, And then the only way a team rivalry happens is if ESPN is trying to push it, be it Nets, Lakers, like, oh, they're going to meet in the finals and just never do.
Yeah. And I agree team rivalries are better, but team rivalries also create player rivalries. Like you said, Bird Magic. We also had like, I don't want to say like just Jordan versus Isaiah Thomas spawned off of Bulls and Pistons. So like I feel like team rivalry creates the good player rivalries, when like your team doesn't hate each other, but two players do, it's like it's like it gets memed on, like Pat Bev and Chris Paul. Like
Right.
that's not a real rivalry necessarily. It's just funny how much Pat Bev hates Chris Paul. But like
I feel like I guess too with player rivalries, it's like I think one of you guys may have said it, but it's there's not taken as seriously because like how all those players you're just naming back in like the 80s and 90s, it's like obviously it's two significantly different eras, but it seems like the older players cared more about winning, and I guess the rivalry aspect of it, it helped make them better, play better, and at a higher level. But I just feel like players today don't value it, as much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, like, look at Russ and KD. Like, they hated each other for like a solid season, and then like all of a sudden they're friends again. Because like now it's just a simple like text message,
Mhm.
Like it's like, yo, my bad, we cool, yeah. Like that's all it takes.
Right.
And like that was probably like the best modern day rivalry because they would just go at each other the entire game, and they
And it was
played.
good.
Yes, and they also played so differently. So like Russ would just yam on KD, but KD would do like a lanky ass crossover and shoot over him. Like it was just fun to watch. But like, yeah, if it is taken seriously, it lasts like a season at most.
Mhm.
Or like recently with Paul George and Devin Booker, they like it was like Instagram comments.
Right.
And it was just like, oh, like this is not exciting, like at
Mhm.
all. You're arguing about a podcast clip, like it just wasn't it. But that does bring us into our main topic. So let us know in the comments for the hot seat what's better, team or players. But we're moving on to our main topic, which is just rivalries in general. Are they dead? The best ones, the worst ones, and just how we view rivalries in general. So obviously I said, are we dead? So first, do you just want to, are NBA rivalries dead, or do you think they are still there?
I think all the examples we've given, like all the good rivalries were in the past.
Mhm.
And like you said, Paul George, Devin Booker, like no one cares. Like rivalries are to an extent dead. You can just clear up any miscommunication later via text or call or whatever, and just it's like exciting for the game that it happens, be it Rajon Rondo punching and Chris Paul and that happening, but like it hasn't really lasted, No one really thinks back to it in like top quality NBA rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with what Vaughn said. I in my opinion, I feel like only maybe like the Lakers and Celtics, and who are the Knicks rivals?
I'm silent because I don't know. I didn't even know they had
Uh,
rivals.
Would it be Lakers? It was Walt Frazier and
Oh,
Jerry West.
Pacers?
Would it be the
Pacers?
Pacers?
Maybe Reggie
Because
Miller.
it was like Reggie Miller and like John Starks, and even what's his name would get in on it on the sideline.
I mean, I guess, yeah, but
Yeah.
like the Pacers aren't good.
That's what I'm like. Yeah,
You know what
so
I'm saying? So it's like, I guess other than the Lakers Celtics, this is not even my bias, but it's just like you can't really think of anything else. Maybe if LeBron was still on the Cavs, then you could argue Warriors and Cavs, but it's it's really there's not really much, Hopefully over time, with these younger teams, we can see some rivalries, get created. Not like on some like beef shit, but like on the court,
Yeah.
rivalries or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty much dead.
yeah. And before we move on to how to revive them, let's talk about what killed them. Do you think it's like we said before, the easier contact? Do you think it's ESPN trying to push the wrong ones? Is it just that like it's just not there anymore? The like I kind of want to answer first because I have one and I want to see what you guys. But I feel like when I think rivalries in football and soccer and stuff like that, players don't move as often in those sports, and I feel like that's what kills rivalries. Is that why rivalries start for a long time, but then like half the team that hated each other before are now spread out throughout the league. So I just want to know, like, what do you think killed rivalries, and like, if you can expand on that.
That's a good point. Like, remember the Lance Stevenson, LeBron years, them going head to head, and then Lance ends up on the Lakers, essentially kills it then
Yeah.
and there.
I feel like it's a mixture of things, between players not being as passionate, trolling, half the NBA trolls. I guess since trades happen, so often, basically like every season, that probably plays a role. And I feel like the media, though, plays like a large part of it,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're just pushing the wrong ones or just trying to create something out of nowhere, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Based off of something they seen like 2 seasons ago,
No
but
facts.
yeah, I just feel like it's a mixture of things on why like rivalries have just like died out.
I think media is a good one because we like this. It was like a running joke on the podcast of how much they were pushing Mavs Suns rematch, and Mavs just didn't even make it into the postseason, and like how heavy they were pushing it all year, or like Joel Embiid being asked if the Celtics are a rival, and he's like, no, they kick our ass every single time.
Right.
So like, I think you're right. Like, I feel like media just doesn't know how to pick the right ones. They're trying too hard to just like not let one naturally. It feels too artificial now.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, like, I think media used to have a big control over that in the past because you would just like publish in your sports journal or newspaper of a quote of one guy, and that could get misconstrued if the other guy who read it just took it the wrong way, or you can't clarify something. Whereas you can just text the guy like, "What do you mean by this?" Or you can just see the clip itself and see the context.
Mm-hmm.
Probably plays a part.
And also on top of that too, it's like they always try and rival like, top teams against each other. Like we said earlier, Lakers Nets. I guess the Battle of LA.
That's a good one. Yeah.
The what did we say earlier? The Warriors Grizzlies, just like, top teams or, just good teams. They don't ever pair, which I mean they probably wouldn't anyway, but they wouldn't pair like the Magic versus Pacers, like it's not going to sell tickets, there's not really any beef. But yeah, it's just I feel like I don't want to say they're not paying attention, but yeah, I guess like you said, Angel, they're just trying too hard.
Yeah. And you're like the Battle of LA is like probably the most infamous try too hard. Because the Battle of LA was pushed the second they got a single superstar, and it was just pushed and pushed and pushed, and then like finally it just was fans who was like, "There's no battle."
Right.
It was just fans who were like, "Stop," and they like it. It was unfortunate, but it was true. It was like they pushed it way too much. Moving on before we get into actually talking good things about rivalries, how do you think they can bring back rivalries? Do you think there's a way that rivalries can come back, or do you think just NBA will probably never see a real rivalry for a while?
It would just have to be like the perfect storm or something. Like
Mm,
maybe it comes down to like a contract dispute or maybe a beef between a coach and an organization.
yeah,
For whatever reason, they just stick with it, and maybe falling out between teammates. I don't know. It'd have to be like a whirlwind of scenarios that kind of like create it. You can't like as we said, ESPN can't just force.
yeah,
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, it just has to be organic. You know, it has to come from like some real life scenario.
Yeah.
I think that like contract dispute would probably be like one of the more accurate ways that could happen. You know, someone asks for, you know, a super max like Draymond. Like that almost was a rivalry, you know, Draymond versus the Warriors, and then somehow they re-signed him. But I feel like that could, you know, that could happen. Someone asks for a supermax, either they can't afford it or they don't give it to him. Player leaves, signs somewhere else, goes off for 50 first time he sees him, you know. So, but yeah, it'd have to be something like super real.
Yeah.
I mean, like the closest we got to that was Draymond and Jordan Poole, and that kind of like sabotaged their season.
Mhm.
But like Jordan Poole's moved on. The media keeps trying to ask him about it, and he's moved on. The only one who still talks about it for some reason is Draymond.
Yeah. And that's like what's crazy, that it could have been something, but the media just like brought it up every single time they were with Jordan Poole. So it's just like it could have been something. It could have been like him staying silent, but Draymond talking about it a lot, you know, but I don't know. We'll see when the actual season starts how that's gonna look. Yeah, I was gonna say it definitely has to be organic. I think the one way that like if they're gonna try to make it happen is use this mid-season tournament to like put teams who barely see each other against each other. Like let's like maybe make conferences like I know how there's divisions in the NBA. No one knows that. Maybe use divisions in the midseason tournament, and there we get division rivalries, or maybe, you know, the Lakers and the Nets like keep eliminating each other in the midseason tournament, and oh my god, they're in a group again, or oh they're against each other in the semis. Like, you know, maybe use a midseason tournament to get some good rivalries in there. But it's honestly, it still has to be organic, even if it is like in the midseason tournament. But I feel like that's a good chance to get rivalries as long as they don't keep it conference specific, because like that's how you get good rivalries, is that like teams who barely see each other just heating up.
Right. That's why I also think that Warriors Cavs rivalry was so good at that time, you know, is because it's basically LeBron versus the world. So it was just like exciting to see. And then obviously when they blew that that lead or whatever, it made it even more special.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess also too, it's probably falls under the organic part, but just seeing two teams battle and not like necessarily overwhelm one or the other, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned earlier, Joel Embiid talking about, you know, if the Celtics are rival, and he said no because they beat us every time. You know, if the Sixers could even that out, that would easily be a rivalry. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
for sure.
They always see each other. I mean, they're both good teams. It's just, you know, the Celtics are better. But yeah, I just feel like, you know, if they're two even teams, that'll probably create the rivalry organic as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So let's look back and what is your favorite rivalry, whether it be player or team? What is a rivalry you think of when you hear like NBA rivalries?
Well, the big one is, you know, Lakers Celtics, but I think one of the most deep-seated beefs has got to be Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas, because that still lasted until today after all
Yeah.
those years.
Yeah.
But I could also like extend it Isaiah Thomas versus everybody almost, like Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Like I know he attributes Michael Jordan for being the one that prevented him from being on the dream team. But there's no way all those guys wanted him there too. Like Jordan's kind of just like the front man for that,
Mm-hmm.
considering you know Isaiah Thomas leading the way for the bad boy Pistons. So I gotta say Isaiah Thomas versus everyone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You can go if you know one, Angel. I'm still trying to think.
I was gonna say uh Cavs Warriors because it really was just LeBron versus the Warriors.
Mhm.
Because it's like every time it was press conferences, it would be the Warriors talking shit about LeBron and LeBron being like, "Oh, they said that. That's funny." That's like that's all it was. Like the other players, like Kyrie didn't get beef with Curry. It was like Klay Thompson taking shots and Draymond taking shots and Curry taking shots, but it was always at LeBron specifically, and LeBron just like laughing, or the iconic image of him with the sunglasses and the headphones, or Klay Thompson just making fun of LeBron being down 3-1. Like, I just feel like that's a really good rivalry. Like, yeah, was it overplaying because we saw it every year? But like looking back at it, that was like a fun time watching those two giants just clash in the finals. And like what made it special is we didn't see it every year. We saw it Christmas Day and like 6 games or 7 games in the finals.
Right.
It was a special thing to see.
And it's like they hard, obviously, because they're East and West Conference, but it's like they hardly play against each other. So
Yeah.
it's like that made it even more exciting on top of that. And then on top of that, it was wanting the Cavs to win, because they haven't, you know?
Hmm.
So just that whole like era was like peak. That was like
Yeah.
peak basketball right there.
Also, like this, we got to see LeBron just talk shit. We didn't really see LeBron talk that much trash up until that, because like we brought up Lance Stevenson, but that was Lance Stevenson poking the bear.
Mhm.
But with the Warriors, like LeBron would turn back and talk trash to Curry when he would block him. And like it was just fun to see LeBron actually get heated.
Right, right. Um, I don't know, bruh. It's like y'all took all the good rivalries, bruh. Um, I guess I could throw coaches out there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
They weren't necessarily, I guess, rivals per se, but I guess I'm speaking in terms of like trying to outdo one another. Um, I would say Phil Jackson and Pat Riley.
Mm.
Now, Pat Riley has been front office like forever, but he was a coach before that and he was a player before that. Phil Jackson, where did he go after the Knicks, or did he just retire completely? Was he like, did he go somewhere else?
Well, I think he went. He was GM of the Knicks for a while. I think he was a coach for the Knicks and then moved to the GM spot.
Okay, because I remember he was like some executive thing, but I didn't remember what he was. Yeah, he was executive, um, coach literally forever, and then he was a player. Um, but they both have rings, and I feel like specifically during their coaching eras, it was like they were trying to be obviously the best coach that they could be, um, and win as much as possible. Um, Phil Jackson he has 11 rings total, but I think like uh 11 rings total, 11, 10, 8 as a coach, I think he has 8 as a coach. Um, but yeah, and Pat Riley, I think he has a few rings. I think he has 1 as a player, 2 as a coach, and 2 or 3 as a executive. How many did LeBron win there? He won 2.
Yeah, two rings.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think something like that. Um, but yeah, I just feel like as coaches, they were just competing, trying to be better than one another.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one too. I think bringing it back to, because you said coaches and Vaughn mentioned like teams. How about like you Eugene mentioned like within the team could also be like rivalries. Shaq and Kobe, probably another giant rivalry that we somehow haven't mentioned yet. Just constantly, even though they're on the same team, constantly taking shots at each other, just to the press, and then like Shaq finally leaving and the chase to get the first ring.
Right.
You know, it was this. Plus, like the media got on it as well as like when one player was doing bad, they would take the other person's side. Like when Kobe was struggling with the Lakers, they were like, Shaq was right. So I
Mhm.
just feel like that's the one where like everyone really got involved.
But see, I feel like that's that organic stuff. The team blew up. Um, even though the media probably was, out of proportion with a lot of things, but the team blew up, and then it was like Kobe was like, "I'm gonna win one without him. I can do it." But Shaq ended up doing it first. Um, so then that gave Kobe even more initiative to do it. Um, but yeah, I just feel like that has to happen in order for a rivalry to actually be, created again or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one where like the media, like as much as they blew it up for like the general public, Shaq and Kobe already knew what their differences were by the time they left.
Mhm.
So like media, I feel like just they could ignore it easily. They knew where they stood and lasted for long ass time too. Like when Kobe won his fifth ring. And Shaq's got that quote where he said he tore his house up over it. He was so mad. And then they finally squashed it. They have that whole interview piece and everything. But yeah, that's definitely one of the more iconic ones. Shaq, I feel like, is at the forefront of quite a few. Like Stan Van Gundy used to be his coach for the Magic, and then he didn't like the way he coached and got him pushed out.
Mhm.
And Stan Van Gundy would later coach D Wade on the Heat because I guess he was friends with Pat Riley at the time. So despite them being good friends, when Shaq gets there, Shaq and Stan Van Gundy have issues. They butt heads. And then Pat Riley's not going to choose the coach over Shaquille O'Neal. And
Yeah.
so as soon as they got rid of Stan Van Gundy, they won a ring together. So I guess Shaq won that whole beef there. I don't know if it's persisted. I imagine they don't really think about it like that no more. But like, it literally cost Stan Van Gundy a job twice. He couldn't get along with his star player.
Do you guys want to keep talking about past, or do you have any one? I thought of one that might be brewing. I was gonna say Suns Pelicans could be an interesting one. It's the one that NBA is kind of not pushing, but it's also like every time they play in the playoffs, they get heated. Like we have the classic Zion windmill dunking on the Suns, and then Jose
Mm.
Alvarado egging on CP3, and I think the Suns have eliminated the Pelicans, and the Pelicans like always barely like lose to them too. It's not like the Suns demolished them. The Pelicans always put up a good fight. Do you think that one that could be possibly brewing, or do you think?
I just think straight up no.
Mm,
CP3 ain't there anymore. At this point, with KD on the team, Bradley Beal on the team, it feels like big brother versus little brother. Like
mm,
Pelicans ain't get out the first round in I don't know how long, and definitely not with this team so far. Maybe that changes with Zion. If he ever plays basketball again. Uh, but I don't see this getting more than like maybe a scuffle.
I mean, I guess it just depends on the players, whether they decide to keep that up or not. Because I guess we all know Devin Booker. If he gets angry, he'll talk some shit. He'll do some shit.
yeah.
KD's probably like the same way. I doubt Aiden. Aiden's probably like a big baby. I ain't gonna lie.
Catching stray.
But I think if you get the Suns like heated and they're losing, something would be bound to happen. Rivalry, I guess we would have to see that too.
Mm,
But I wouldn't I wouldn't put it past you. You know what I'm saying? I could see it.
Yeah, I feel like this third year is what is gonna make or break it, because it's the first year was like, oh, this might be something, and the second year was like, oh, like they still like hate, like they still don't like each other. So I feel like if this third year, if like the Pelicans put up a fight again against the Suns, and like maybe if Zion's actually playing this time, and like it's actually another heated contested match, then I can see it maybe being a rivalry. But
Mhm.
like Vaughn said, like right now it's looking like the Pelicans are nowhere near the Suns. Like and like even that first year of the play-ins, like it was surprising that the Pelicans were putting up a fight against the Suns. Um, yeah, it's like this third year can definitely make or break the rivalry. Like if the Suns stomp the Pelicans this year, like the rivalries, boom, there goes all that animosity. But if like
Mhm.
the third year it's another tight contest, and I can definitely see it actually growing.
I have one I could maybe possibly throw out there. Would the Bucks and Celtics be a rivalry?
I know they meet up a lot with each other,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think any player that holds malice are still on those teams. Because I think when I think of the height of it, I think Eric Bledsoe and Terry Rozier. Like that's the only one where there's a back and forth going on. What I've seen in like the last few playoffs between the teams is like they just compete really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Marcus Smart was like they found like troublesome, but he's not even on the team no more. So that wouldn't be a tough one.
I feel like the Celtics, it's the players. They just don't get mad. Like, like you would think Heat and Celtics would be like a rivalry by now, but it's still like it's another one of those things where they just compete against each other a lot, and like that's it.
Right.
It's like every time I think of like, well, Celtics Sixers, no, because like they kicked the Sixers ass and Joe Embiid like already killed it. Then like you brought up Bucks and Celtics, like none of them hate each other. And I was like, okay, while you were talking, I was like, ooh, maybe Heat Celtics, but I was like, nope, they don't hate each other either.
Well, okay. What about Heat Bucks though? Heat won against the Bucks in the first round, so I feel like even though probably the Bucks is probably one of the nicest teams in the NBA, they still might have the Heat's number because even though Giannis was out, because they lost in the first round. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I guess necessarily the players don't have to have beef, but just related to on the court, beef, I guess. I feel like you could say Heat Bucks, or it's brewing. Like it's not a solidified one, but
I feel like we have to get there, but I can definitely see that possibility. I would if Jimmy was still in the West, like I could see like Jimmy and the Timberwolves having beef because he hates that organization with his entire soul. And then like I also wanted to say Heat Sixers for the same reason, but like it's just one of those things where they don't meet often enough in the playoffs. So I just feel like with the East, it's hard because like it's just
East is super hard.
They keep one upping each other. Like the beef just doesn't grow because either the players just don't get heated enough, or it's like, oh yeah, every time we go against them, no matter what round, we lose.
Right. Or the team is just terrible.
Yeah. What about Trae Young versus the city of New York?
Yes, I would consider that a full-blown rivalry, bro. I would consider that a full-blown rivalry.
I feel like at this trajectory with New York finally consistently making the playoffs again, and Atlanta just being like, if they could also consistently make the playoffs, I feel like this one is just going to get worse and worse and worse. Because like we narrowly missed it because Hawks got Celtics first round. They were just unlucky.
Right.
But I feel like it might be one where it grows more and more.
I got a caveat with this because I think it's New York fans have beef with Trae Young. I don't think Trae Young's been thinking about them at all these past years.
Bro. if you watch Trey Young clips and he gets asked that question, he definitely admitted to egging them on. He loves it. He loves that they hate them.
He thrives off negativity.
Yo, he for real. He said he loves playing the villain. So you're right. I don't think it's necessarily Trey Young had beef with New York. But I don't think Trey Young's gonna like show up to New York and not play up to it. Trey Young's gonna be like he's bowed, like in Madison Square Garden. There's that clip of the New York Knicks bumping into him and everyone fighting behind him as he walks away. So I feel like as long as Trey Young keeps playing to be the villain, oh my goodness, I feel like that one just gonna like if they keep meeting in the playoffs, and I might even want the Hawks to keep winning because then it's just gonna get like the fans even more heated.
The only reason I consider it a rivalry is because they've been screaming "fuck Trey Young." Literally, I don't remember what year that playoff run was. It might have been like, what was it, 2021?
Yeah,
it was definitely after the COVID bubble. Yeah, so it's been 2 years since then, and on top of that, they are screaming, they're chanting it at every New York home sporting event.
True.
Every game. Like, it's always fuck Trey Young, fuck Trey Young. Every game. I see TikTok clips still of it happening like so often. But that's for me, that's the only reason I consider it a rivalry. And I like it because I like Trey Young. You know,
you hate New York, let's be honest.
So it's like it's fun to see like just like that whole, I guess environment. I don't know a better term for that, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Rage. Yeah.
That's a funny one because of all the ones, that's the only one we've mentioned so far where it's a fan base versus a player rather than players on the court or a coach,
rather than the team.
Yeah. Well, like that's just fun. It's like Spike Lee against Reggie Miller. Like it was like, of course, it was Pacers and Knicks as well, but it was like somehow Spike Lee got involved as well, and Reggie would purposely taunt Spike Lee like when he shoots a three or something. So it's just like fun. Like when it's fun like this, it's like you want it to keep growing.
Right.
Do you want to talk about ones you want to see, a rivalry you hope grows? Because I just thought about one, so I want to see if you guys have one, maybe.
I mean, I really want to see, whether it's player or team, Suns and Mavs.
Mhm.
Like, I really want to see Luka versus Devin Booker.
Mhm.
Kyrie and KD's probably, that's probably over with.
Yeah.
But I really want to see Devin Booker and Luka. I want to see that.
Just naturally
elevate. Yeah, naturally. Yeah, of course. Because I feel like, obviously they're two very good young players, probably in their peak, so I think it would just be super exciting to see, especially if they like both pop off for like 41 game. Like that would be crazy.
I'm not dying to see any of them, but like if I could see the Kings beat the Warriors at some point, that would be satisfying.
That was mine.
Like,
maybe sweep the Warriors.
If they can mark the end of the Warriors like dynasty era, like from now on, it's Kings win that matchup. That would be nice.
Yeah, that
just kind of be like almost a rivalry button heads, but like one's taking the torch, like not passing the torch, one is taking that torch from them.
Yeah.
Will that happen? I really don't know. It's the Kings organization, but at least the players have a solid foundation.
Yeah, that was mine, and what spurred me asking the question, because last year it was like lightning in the bottle. No one thought the Kings were gonna get to the playoffs in the first place. Then they get the Warriors in the first round, and Warriors fans are saying 4-0, 4-1, and it goes to 7 games. And it was just like, and Curry had to save the Warriors too. The Warriors did not deserve to win Game 7.
No, they didn't.
Like,
not at all.
so it was just like, it was one that like I feel like Bay Area fans can definitely carry it themselves alone. Because Sacramento Kings fans were like chanting "fuck Golden State," like they were saying like "we cook Curry," like like they were just like the fans really got into it. So I feel like that could be what we wanted the Battle of LA to be, because that would be pure offense.
The Battle of the Bay. That would be tough.
Like that, because like it's also pure offense as well. Because let's be honest, neither team's known for their defense. So just be like high scoring games every single time, with a little bit of flair and heat every once in a while with a hard foul. Like I feel like that would be a really fun rivalry if it keeps growing. But it honestly depends on the Kings if they keep performing well.
And like that would change like the whole scope of how the California teams are seen as too. You know what I'm saying? Like the Kings are no longer a laughing stock. They beat the Warriors X amount of times or whatever. So then it's like, if that happens, they'll probably beat the Lakers on some bullshit. They'll probably beat the Clippers, so it's gonna be like, yo, like the Kings are actually valid. So I think that'll also boost everything as well.
True. That would be crazy. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that. But like if the Kings get good, then maybe other California teams, like it would make a Kings Lakers rivalry and a Kings Clippers and Lakers Warriors and Lakers, like it might be like California teams just hate each other now because they're all good. That would be, yeah, you're right. That would be insane.
Maybe we could go back to the Sacramento Queens.
True, because they did hate each other when Shaq and Kobe was there.
They hated them.
So yeah, it'll revive some things. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That was a really good point. I honestly don't have any more questions as far as rivalries go.
I could list off a few off the top of my head. Robert Horry, Danny Ainge threw a towel at Danny Ainge's face.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Horry gets traded. Says it was unrelated to getting a towel thrown in his face. The biggest bold-faced lie in history. And Robert Horry gets a career where he gets 7 rings, I think, off
something
of that.
Like that. Yeah, he's got hella.
We got Dwight Howard and Shaquille O'Neal.
How did we forget that?
Okay, wait. But then we could also say Shaq and JaVale McGee. Shaq has a laundry list of players just off of Shaqton alone.
Whoa.
We could throw on this, bro. I'm not even gonna lie.
But with JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard played into it. Dwight Howard be like, Shaq can't stop thinking of me, like Dwight Howard. He pulled out the Superman at the slam dunk contest. Like Dwight Howard definitely has played into it.
I think it's just because they're like, essentially Dwight Howard was another, I'm not going to say by any means the second coming of Shaq, but he was like a second Shaq, He was funny off the court, super dominant, not as dominant, obviously, but super dominant on the court.
Athletic, big.
Right. So I think that was, he was trying to play into that as well. I think I would still consider that a little bit of a rivalry, though.
No, for sure. Yeah, Shaq and Dwight Howard is definitely one.
And then last one I got that I remember is Big Three Celtics versus LeBron. Because as soon as they got their super team assembled, they were bullying LeBron and the Cavs. Paul Pierce was very full of himself.
I just thought of it too.
I know what y'all thinking, but then it spawns into Big Three versus Heat.
Mhm.
And then, of course, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce versus Ray Allen. So that's kind of like a big one that just sprawled out.
I mean, I feel like we also have to say the LeBron Heat and the Spurs. Do we not?
Oh, see, that's not. I was
Okay.
thinking Paul Pierce and D Wade.
That was too.
That's a whole. That's not even a rivalry. I don't know what that. That's like
That's a
some.
steamrolling.
Yeah. That's something way worse. That's hella funny. No, yeah, that's some like deep rooted like personal some shit they got going on.
Yeah, no fact. No, Spurs and Heat. That's also a good one.
Right, because like they beat. Didn't they have 2 against them?
2 finals?
2 wins. The Spurs, or is it just 1?
I think it's 1-1, is it not?
Is it 1-1?
Yeah, because the Spurs won the Spurs lost the first time, won the second time.
Okay, I thought I couldn't remember. But yeah, 2 very, very good teams. Probably also at another peak of basketball at the time. Also full rosters. Like bench was good, starting 5 was amazing, coaching was amazing. And they were pretty, even teams. And also at like the top of their conferences as well. So
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, that would probably be one of the better, more recent rivalries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Plus, it's got that whole ordeal with like the air conditioning. Like, did Greg Popovich turn off the air conditioning in the locker room?
All right.
I do think just one more, kind of to a certain extent, is Mavericks Heat as well. Because I remember at one point, Mavericks were on that crazy run, and like, did they go down 0-2 against the Heat or something? And like, Dirk was apparently with a cold or feverish or something, and like, he definitely saw that clip where LeBron and D Wade were making fun of his cough, like, "Oh, I'm sick," and it just lit a fire under him. After that point, it was a wrap.
You probably could say, what was that, like 2012?
2011, I think.
Right, that was like the first year they got together. I think you could argue for that.
Yeah, I could definitely see that as well. Yeah, I think that's where we're gonna call it. It's like a little bit shorter than usual, like maybe 10 minutes at most, but it's the off season. We don't have much to talk about really. If you are listening on all podcast platforms, make sure you give us a 5 stars. Make sure you leave us a review. Even if you hated it, let us know in the comments. What rivalry did we not mention that you just were like, how could they not? If you're listening on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe for that video format. We're on all social media platforms at Spin the Rock for any clips and episode updates that you need from us. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.